Greetings newborns, FiOth here, and in this vid we're gonna talk about weapon upgrades. Now some of you like me have gotten the Heirloom DLC that includes the Dragonbane and the Barker, as well as a coat that looks like shit that you can change into to look different. But if you've done so, you probably are stuck just using these two tools throughout your adventure because, well, they seem to be pretty potent and versatile and get the job done easily. But what you probably didn't notice if you haven't been paying very close attention is that every weapon you get, almost every weapon to be totally precise, will start with a, let's say, name that it diminishes its quality, like a used hatchet for example, but they all boast the same 5 tiers of upgrading. So you start at level 1, that's the default. Then you can go to level 2, that becomes a common, then becomes good, then remarkable, and then perfect. So a perfect hatchet, for example, that's a weapon that you find in the environment, will have the same base damage as your Dragonbane. That means that there is almost no useless weapon in the game. The only exception I've noticed up to this point is the common Machete, that has only 2 levels and you probably wouldn't deal with it anyway. But let's take a look at another one to drive the point in. You see the used Scythe? It can reach a 330 damage output at level 5, and it has abilities like the Dragonbane that I spoke about and many other weapons, like for example increasing damage by 10% or allowing it to absorb blood as you strike the enemies. As for firearms, you have the Barker at level 3 here, as I upgraded it, and it deals 89 damage if you get both of the firepower upgrades. And there is, for example, the used LUPARA that you can find in the environment that will reach an output of 480 without even getting the firepower upgrades. So this is a sawed-off shotgun. Of course it will be useful at shorter ranges, it has a shorter magazine and so on and so forth, but the damage can be devastating. You will end up fighting lots of these weapons, and of course at some point it will be difficult to upgrade them due to the rarity of the materials. For example, here for Dragonbane level 3 it needed 6 common handle parts and 4 lead plates that are now very common at the point of the game that I'm in, but reaching level 4 requires 4 good handle parts and I'm at 0 at the moment. I have found none up to this point. My suggestion to you is, before you invest heavily in a weapon and just ending up using just that, take various of these weapons and get them to level 3. The upgrade up to level 3 is cheap and you can just experiment and see what you like. Also, do not underestimate the value of keeping it fresh, guys. Like, playing with one weapon throughout the whole game can become quite stale after a bit of time. And for example, when you use two-handed weapons, you lose the ability to use an offhand or a firearm, but you get the ability to parry attacks, which will, let's say, differentiate the way you approach your melee encounters. Maybe it will prove to be very, very useful against some of the melee heavy characters that can stagger you or are hard to stagger yourself, and so on and so forth. Another thing that you should take under consideration is the materials required. Every weapon in its category requires the exact same types of materials and amounts to upgrade from one level to the other. So you might have common trigger parts and springs, a shitload of them, and you want to experiment with guns. That's no problem, because any one you choose to upgrade requires the same stuff, only the base item changes. So you can get an assortment of materials and then you just have to make a choice about which one you want to upgrade first. You're not even that pressed about not being able to move around and differentiate your choices. After level 4 it becomes a struggle, but up to level 3 it's very, very easy. Now, some of these weapons have different secondary leveling properties, like increased rate of fire, or for example increased shock, as it happens with the revolver, whilst the Barker has elemental effects on its 4th level, and so on and so forth, but the basic upgrades require the same stuff. So my suggestion to you is grab a few of these weapons, give them a spin, give them a couple of upgrades, and in the end you will be able to decide which ones you liked and how you want to upgrade combat in its entirety. Hope you found this useful, guys. It's been FiOth and I'm covering everything I can get my hands on in Vampyr. I will continue to do so, so sub, like and share for more. It really helps the channel grow, and until next time, be well, stay frosty and always strive for perfection. Cheers.